Call the meeting in order. Today is June the 18th at 10:02 a.m. Ask that you please stand for a moment of silent meditation, remain standing for the pledge. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
There were no exonerations this week. Fiduciary orders as of June 18. Janet, were those brought up? No. Okay, no fiduciary orders. Minutes of May 7 and May 14. General County Fund expenditures, $228,402.80. General County on the purchasing card, $6,056.19. Coal Severance Fund, $54,801.23. Camp Muffley, $20,895.11. Mason-Dixon Park, $156.58. Assessor's Valuation Fund, $652.50. 911 purchasing card, $95.45. 911 cash, $10,827.41. Law enforcement forfeiture, $245.10 for a total of $322,132.37. I have budget revisions. These are in-house. The assessor, Camp Muffley, County Commission, motor pool, rehab of properties, County Commission, and also three that need to go to the state. One is for insurance, other buildings and coal severance, and the Sheriff's Department.
Move for approval. Second.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Sheriff,
Sir,
you have a new face.
we have a new employee, yes we do.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay. Gentlemen, we had an opening in the tax office, full-time position, after Kathy Feathers retired. So we are here today to introduce Tatiana Kanjara Uday, and she is starting date was June 1st. So we missed a couple meetings or one meeting, but she was hired as a tax deputy, a 3-month probationary period, eligible for full benefits, monthly salary $2,375, and this position was advertised, and she completed all the background information and background investigation that we needed for tax office employee. So we're just looking for approval.
I want to move to approve, but I've got to ask this question.
Second.
T.
Thank you. I move to approve T.
I have a motion and a second to approve T. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Welcome.
I have an
Welcome
idea.
aboard.
During the DUI stops, ask her to say her name. Let's see if she can do it. If they can do it, let them go. Well,
All right. Simple and easy, wasn't it?
Thank you,
Okay.
Sheriff.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Renetta.
Several items for reimbursement for your approval today. The first is the Emergency Solutions Grant Program for the month of May, $43,555.63. The JABG grant for May of 2014, $1,672.02. The HUD grant through the City of Morgantown for MAYSP for the month of May, $2,080.86. The VOCA grant for May of 2014, $3,911.59. The Governor's Community Participation Grant Program, the Mon County Teen Courts, $2,980.82. And the final one is also Governor's Community Participation Grant Program for the West Virginia Women Work, $19,521.97.
Move for approval.
Second.
Have a motion for approval and a second. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Renetta, is there is there a way that you can get us maybe next week or a week after a report on the benefits of the grant program to Monongalia County?
Yeah.
I think it'd be good for the people to know what kind of benefit they're getting out of all the grants.
Well, since we're closing up the fiscal year anyway, I would have to do that for the auditor's
Oh,
office,
good,
so I'll
good.
be putting that together.
Good. Thank you. Bid opening for renovations Camp Muffley Pool. Oh, we're early. I thought I was late, but we're still early. Yes, Sheriff, you need to go to the bathroom or?
If I may, just before I came, I did, because I'm always nervous when I you can tell, right? Just for your knowledge, the delinquent tax list was published in the newspaper
Saw
today.
that this morning.
And the other point that I wanted to bring up is, as of July 1st, I don't know, you're probably aware of this, that the tax office hours for years and years and years have been 8:55 to 4:55. Now, if you don't know the background of that story, there used to be one lady that worked in the tax office that rode the bus to work and rode it home. And she had to leave before 5 o'clock
Catch the 5 o'clock bus.
to catch the 5 o'clock bus. So that's why they were there. So, as of July 1st, we are going to come into compliance with all the other offices in the courthouse, and our hours will be 9 to 5. And Monday until 7, of course. But the rest of the week, 9 to 5. So we just thought
9
we'd
to 5.
collect in there that little tidbit of information.
Thank you,
So we'll
Sheriff.
probably be getting with Bobby and see if we can get some new signs.
Now you'll keep that until someone has to catch a bus at 5 again, or 4:45.
I hope they don't change your bus schedule, because we can't let them out at 2:55.
That's right.
Do you have any correspondence, Diane, that you, no correspondence?
No.
How about unfinished business? Can we, animal control humane officer contract for town of Star City?
They have agreed to the terms of our contract. A little late in the year, but better late than never. And this requires approval, motion, signature.
Is that for
move-
next year?
This is the current year, but July 1 we'll be doing a new one.
This is for the previous
Okay.
year. We move to approve and authorize the president to sign.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
At the end of the year, we'll be recalculating the new rates for each
Okay.
municipalities that are participating.
The only thing that will change in the next agreement, though, will be the rates, right?
Right.
That was something that was overlooked for quite some time. But now we've got all the municipalities. That makes all of them, right? All the municipalities and joined together, so that should eliminate some problems.
Anything else, Diane?
No.
We have 4 minutes. Jamie, you want to tell us about your trip to Christiansburg?
Sure.
You got 4 minutes.
Okay. I brought back some materials for you to look at. We visited the Aquatic Center at Christiansburg, and we also visited the rec center that's up there, the senior center. And it was it was a material that they put out. Myself, Ron Justice, Oliver Luck, Sam Stone, went on the trip to look at that aquatic center. Took a lot of pictures. I think you've seen the video.
Yeah, I was going to mention that it is on, if you go on the internet, Christiansburg Aquatic Center is on the internet, and they have an excellent video
Right,
of that facility, is what the group went down to look at.
right. And we are preparing a PowerPoint, you know, to bring here and show you, then, the one at the next meeting for, the city and county.
I was quite impressed with the video. I mean, they did an excellent job on the video, very effective job of marketing.
Right.
If you watch that video, the facility is just impressive.
And Virginia Tech uses it. It's a 7-mile trip for them, and then Radford University also uses it, and they share that facility in the competitive end. And but there's also a public portion of it, and they have a therapeutic that the seniors use, or anybody who wants to use a therapeutic pool. There's a splash pad in there. There's slides in the public part of it, and it's pretty impressive. And we got there early, and there wasn't very many people there. And then as the hour went along, there was a whole group of kids come in. And as we were leaving, there was another group up on the stairs waiting to get into the non-competitive part. And a lot of seniors were in there using it. They were doing exercises, and also in the competitive side, they also had swim classes and everything over there too that the town could use, and the area and the community could all be part of, and use all that. After we left the aquatic center, we went over to the rec center. There's also in Christiansburg. It's probably about a mile away. And that facility, the rec center, was about 64,000 square feet, and plenty of parking and all that. And the senior center, or the rec center where the seniors are, it's about 63,000 square feet. And they have a tartan surface, I guess I could call it maybe. They have 4 basketball courts that can convert into volleyball, shuffleboard. There's a walking track inside, and the seniors occupy one whole wing of the rec center. And they have a pool room, and they shoot pool or whatever. They have a kitchen, and they do all that. They have all their events listed. I mean, it's very nice setup, very nice operation. It's something that we're maybe looking down the road to.
You know, the one thing that impressed me a little bit, of course, we're not at the point to discuss funding and location at this point, but the cost of their facility, when you look at that video,
Right.
and the way to relate it is that this facility would cost no more than the ballpark, or very close to what the ballpark cost. And when you look at the diversity of activities and the diversity of people it would serve in the community, I mean, it's amazing. I mean, you talk about getting bang for your buck.
Right.
This facility would certainly give this community that kind of benefit. And it's just impressive. I mean, all we need to do is come up with a way to fund it.
Right, way to fund it, but they also had, after it was done, as always, they always talk about, well, what they would do different now. They've been into it 4 years. So what they said they'd do different is they would make the non-competitive side much larger,
Yep.
to handle, the folks in the community that would go in there, and for the seniors and for all that. They said that would be a much bigger place. And then Oliver had an idea about, maybe changing the diving pool in the competitive side so they could put a bigger slide and all that into it. And so it was thought-provoking.
Well, the one thing, and I know that some people have a differing viewpoint, but the involvement with WVU is the only reason that we could even consider this type of facility would be because of the involvement of WVU. We could never go out on a venture like this ourselves. So it's something I think that we need to explore, and certainly if it's possible to accomplish, working with WVU and working within the existing framework of the TIF, I think it could be a tremendous asset for the community.
And it's also a regional operation
Yeah.
too. I think it would encompass a lot of areas, in other states also. So,
Of course, I've been traveling, so I didn't get a chance to review everything, but, for a number of years now, I've been talking about the campus-type setting of creating so many of our organizations are paying rent, and the money we give to them goes to rent. Where I wish the money we gave to them went to programs. And like I said, for a number of years, I've talked about the campus center. The way you describe it sound very, very interesting. This might be the very impetus that helps us create a campus-like setting, with this natatorium be the center of that. And then we have, senior moms need a place, the youth services center needs a place, and there's other organizations that needs a place, that then the monies they get could all go to the programs and servicing the people rather than overhead.
Also along the same thoughts, Eldon, I think it may open up the door for more grants. If we look at some kind of a campus setting, like for seniors and youth services, that it may open up the door for more funding for construction and
Yeah, when you bring all those other groups in, you might be able to call on that. And the very idea that you could have all age groups serviced in a campus-like setting, I think that sort of fit that way. When you were describing it, like I said, I didn't get a chance to look at the video and everything, but the way you described it, it seemed like they were going that way, what I've been talking about.
Yeah.
They also, one of their biggest sources of income is birthday parties, believe it or not.
Birthday
Because a lot of kids want to go there and do them. It's just a fabulous
Oh,
place.
yeah,
To
that
go
makes
in there, they're renting on the non-competitive side.
Great.
And Virginia Tech also has their men's and women's locker rooms, and that's where they're located. They also,
So that's community and university
yes,
driven too.
yes,
Mm.
Christian pro.
Okay,
Wish I
thank
could have made it. I was out of town.
Okay, now we're late for our public hearing. Or bid opening.
I couldn't believe I had it up 4 minutes.
Oh, you better give that to Tom.
The weapon?
We got 2 for the pool.
Yes, this is for the renovations Camp Muffley Pool. It's not gonna be cheap, I can tell you that right now.
No. I have Dan Hill Construction Company out of Gawley Bridge, West Virginia. They have all their documents in the bid bond here. Their bid proposal is for $650,000.
I got Aqua Pool of East Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Seems to be all in order. Their bid is $354,450. The bid and the design plan is all that's included in here. I would move that we refer these 2 bids to our Facilities and Maintenance Director, Bob Doyle, for review and recommendation.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Bobby, they'll be in your hands. Next, we have a bid opening for HVAC service contract.
What is that for? HVAC for where? Where's this for, the HVAC? Oh.
There was one bid that was folded and put in the door this morning.
It's gotta be sealed.
But it's not sealed, so we can't accept
They
it.
were told it's a pre-bid,
This was from Johnson Controls.
so we're not gonna be able to accept it.
Just wanted to make note in the record that it was received, but it wasn't appropriate.
Okay, I got Air Service of West Virginia, located in Morgantown and Fairmont. Proposed to perform quarterly preventive maintenance. The cost for each quarterly inspection is $5,410 plus applicable sales tax.
Well, is that how it's supposed to be submitted, by quarter?
Is that monthly or quarterly or what?
Quarterly. Cost for each quarterly inspection. Service calls are, depending on whether it's for a technician, is $75 an hour for regular hours and $65 an hour for helper. And then it goes up proportionally for overtime and holidays.
I have one from Facilities Integration Technologies. And its payment schedule is for 1 year, July 1st through June the 30th, 2014 through 2015. And the bid amount is $74,507.
Is that an annual?
Annual.
That's annual, okay.
I have one from Casto Technical Services from Charleston, West Virginia. Let's see. For 1 year, it's $23,772, payable by $5,943 per quarter plus tax.
I move we refer the bids to our facilities director and Bob Doyle and ask him to make recommendations.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Okay.
Thank you.
We're ready to move into, is it 10, it's not 10:45. So we have some more time. We're just too efficient here. Well, we've got about 20 minutes, so why don't we move on and get the rest of our agenda here out of the way, up until 10:45, and that's the time of the public hearing. Let's move on. New business.
Nothing.
Nothing but new business. Reports from County Commissioner.
I'll let him go first since he wasn't here yet.
Yeah, you've
Yeah.
got quite a report, I'm sure.
20-minute report.
I can't remember what I did.
You gotta be done by 10:45.
See, I've been running around a lot. I attended I'm a board member of the West Virginia Association of Counties, and I attended the board meeting over at Parkersburg. It's a very good meeting. It's interesting. It's an interesting fact that the Association of Counties consists of all the elected officials of the county. You got your circuit clerk, your county clerk, your sheriff, your prosecuting attorney, and of course the commissioners. And I found it interesting that most of the people sat together in terms of whether they were a commissioner or clerk. But our county, we all sat together as a county. So I got to sit together with the sheriff and tax people and stuff. So I don't know what that speaks to. But basically, it was a general meeting, about our upcoming board meeting, and there was really not a whole lot of things. I guess the big discussion was the salary increases, in which county gets salary increases, which county doesn't get salary increases. I don't think this is necessary. I think we're all right. I don't think we have a problem, but I don't think that the issues on the salary increase is going to be resolved. And this is a problem we run into with the legislature sometimes. Is going to be easy. Upshur County, I talked a long time with Don Teddy about this. They, due to a huge loss in their severance funds and other funds, the commission recommended against the salary increases at this time. They couldn't afford it this year. The auditor turned around and approved the salary increases. So the question comes up, and that was kicked around a good bit. Who has ultimate authority of spending the budget? Constitutionally, it says the commissioners has ultimate authority. But the legislature changed it around and said the auditor has ultimate authority when it comes to these salary increases. So I think that it's going to be an interesting outcome, and invariably I figure it will probably end up in the courts. So that's basically all I have at this juncture.
Oh, it's good to see you back.
Well, good to be back.
Tom?
Yeah, welcome back. I didn't like talking to the chair. I think we've all received a message, and I talked to Shelby Leary. She is interested in inviting the three of us out to dinner or lunch at Stewart's Run, and I said I would bring it up to see what days are even possible for you so that we could possibly go out there. I had mentioned that Monday, Tuesdays, and Thursdays were a lot better, but just something that, maybe later we can discuss, and we'll call Shelby to see when we could set something up to go out there. The second thing I wasn't going to report, but I think I will. I was surprised when I said I attended that conference, the Tri conference, that I had about 6 or 7 either council members or mayors from all over the state come up and ask about the annexation issue with Westover. And they are having the same exact situation and concerns that Westover and the city of Morgantown has. And I was surprised to see how many of these different areas were monitoring and watching the outcome, because they felt that it really had a big effect on the state of West Virginia. And why I bring it up is with the situation of the coal severance and the other concerns of the state, I think what is now happening is that areas are starting to look at thinking out of the box ways of going back to the legislature and say, you now need to start looking at other ways that we can survive. And I think we need to come up with some new solutions. And as much as whether you're Democrat or Republican saying that coal is the answer, I believe that's one of the answers, but we need to diversify and look and try and see what the communities are interested in doing. And I really think that it's really, everyone's watching the Supreme Court, and I saw Mayor Johnson walk in. I just want to say I was shocked how many people wanted to know more information of how the county commissioners were involved and what we were involved with. And it was a very positive look at, of the debate of looking at both sides. And so we are being monitored and watched very carefully. And since you go to the state functions, I don't see that, but I thought that was very interesting for this community to see.
Yeah, and I think that is true. I know from the state level they keep an eye on us.
So, and that is it.
That's it?
That is it. Das ist
I
alles.
got a couple things. This is unofficial other than the talk show, Morgantown AM, is that there's some representatives on there from Department of Highways. I haven't had a chance to talk to you. I think I have.
I saw that.
But they said that the contract for the Hartman Run Bridge had been let and it was under $3 million.
Right.
We'll
So-
get some money back then.
So we should get about
Well, we don't give it.
$400,000 back from our $1 million, or we don't have to pay them another.
That's what
half
I was
million.
going to recommend.
The contract.
Oh, yeah. Uh-oh.
The contract says that if there's a refund, it will come 45 days after completion and certification of the project.
Right.
It's
Oh, so we'll have to
right.
pay it, and then they'll give it back
Oh,
to
okay.
us.
Yeah, because that's what we are obligated only to pay $1 million or
Or
20%, whichever is less.
Okay.
Okay, I just wanted to mention that because I thought that was a little ray of sunshine coming through the mountains. The other thing is so that there isn't any rumors. Monday I'll be going to the hospital for a hip replacement, so I'm going to be off, depending on what kind of shape I'm in for the shape I'm in the therapy, how long that takes to get me to the point where I can come back to the meetings. But
You can rehab with
Are
Bob
they,
Huggins.
Are they
yeah,
gonna,
that's kind of interesting. Yeah, he's in the process of
Yeah.
rehabbing.
are they gonna make you taller?
Only on one side.
Only on one side.
But some people will tell you in West Virginia that's okay.
Yeah, you just walk the hill on the right side.
Other than that, that's all I have. We still have a few minutes. Elected officials. Mark.
Just that the field guys are still out, and ladies, are still out for the second ward. And, once we complete that, we'll be moving into 67th ward. But when we get to that point, I'll give it to Ben so we can get that in the paper also too. But they're still currently in first and second.
Might mention to you and pass on to you, the last planning commission meeting, there was an individual there that talked about how surprised he was to have representatives come out and talk to him about appraisal of his property, and very pleased. So I just want to give you some positive feedback there.
Thank you, appreciate that.
I'd like to add, talked to a number of assessors down there, and they were quite impressed with your hospitality, and they loved these bowls. They thought it was very creative, and a couple of them said they're looking around their counties to find some, because you know, it just seems like every time Monongalia County keeps outdoing, you know,
Set the bar high.
yeah, and Lewis County's notorious about that. Lewis County's just tremendous. They, Cindy, is it? She just does all kind of stuff. So you've started a rumbling in the assessor's office that they got to catch up with you. So congratulations.
Well, good. We're finally above everyone else at something.
Mayor, you have anything?
Yeah, the only thing I would echo what Tom was saying about the annexation issues, it's something that we've been saying all along, but and people ask me a lot from different mayors call me, and I, tell them that there's only really two ways you do annexation. It's by petition or minor boundary. The election part of it very seldom comes into play from all the research that we've done, and that, our goal is to become more self-sufficient. And I think that's a concern throughout the state with a lot of cities. And the other advice I give them is to take the temperature of their county commissioners and see how they feel, what their outlook is on it. You guys do have discretionary powers, and some of the annexations are not as popular as the others, and I understand that. But I think it's something that's going to be neat done. I think that the legislators can help even more. I think that if you guys get a chance to talk to, people that are in a position to introduce different types of bills, that it could be a lot easier. They can take the monkey on your back wouldn't be as heavy, I guess is what I'm trying to say. But, something everybody needs to think about and look at, especially with the coal and what's going to happen with that, because the coal severance is something that a lot of people depend on. I know we do. What little bit we get, we use for asphalt and gravel and that type of thing. So it's, we don't want to have to come to you guys for money. We don't want to have to. That's one of the solutions. So. And good luck with your surgery.
Thank you.
And I expect to see you back here next Wednesday.
Yeah. I'll have him roll the bed in. Although I've been told to expect to be up that same day. I said, that's fine with me. I'll go home that night if I'm able to. It won't bother me a bit.
3 days.
And 3 days.
3 days.
Yeah, that's what I've been told. Diane? Bobby? Renetta? Jamie, anything else? Ron?
Nothing, sir.
Comments from the public? Anyone have any comments they want to make? Okay, we still have about 9 minutes.
Well, I think I know all three of us saw the article that Ben wrote, and I think he needs to be recommended, congratulated. That was a great article on the Camp Muffley about the pool.
Oh, yeah.
About the pool. It was excellent, and I think it really opened up a lot of eyes, and I really do appreciate it because that's what we were asking for, and I want to thank the Dominion Post for doing that, and I think it really was a great article to show that, you know, it is open for that area and that community, and I think that's something that people did not realize. So I do want to thank you for that. That was excellent.
And I think too, as a commission, I think we appreciate the news getting communicated because particularly with Camp Muffley,
Yeah.
as we all know, there's a little differing of perceptions of what's going on there. But when you see the two most recent articles in terms of the increase of participation of 4-H, almost doubled, and then you look at the pool facilities being made available, and we're looking at renovation, I think you're helping us to communicate to the people in this county that we're wanting to do good things, improvements to the county parks, not just Camp Muffley, but the other two parks as well. And we appreciate that, Ben.
And still have 7 minutes.
Well, anybody had a good story they want to tell? Ron's leaving.
What else do we have?
Uh,
Well, Bill, have you noticed that the Justice Center, the front's coming off of the
Yes,
building?
I did notice that.
The roof's being put on, tore off and put on at this time. We did get 2 loads of metal studs and drywall for up to the 3rd floor, so things are really progressing down there.
I really think that it's gonna change the outward appearance of that building when they get it done. When you look at what all they've removed off the front of it, and then I think it's anticipated that'll be replaced with glass, and it's just gonna give an entirely different appearance.
I think it would help for the whole downtown,
Yeah,
especially because the lower part, because, you know, there's always people said, you know, there's been like the upper part and the lower, yeah, and it
Yeah.
stops.
yeah.
Yeah, and I really think that's going to make a major difference. And several bars and restaurants are starting to open up down there, so it's changing the whole.
Yeah, and I think the guy that we met that's involved with the construction, saying that they're like
Yeah.
2 to 3 weeks ahead of schedule.
The superintendent's doing a great job. He's
Yeah.
keeping, we have meetings every other Thursday, and so far they're right on schedule or ahead.
Yeah, he said I think 2 or 3 weeks ahead of schedule. So everybody's looking forward to that fountain working in front.
How we
Getting that fountain reactivated.
You got the faces of the statue yet?
Yeah.
Just don't have the water flow.
on the baseball diamond, how is that going? Is that basically on?
Well, there's no construction started there yet, but the last meeting we had, they know that they have a date to meet.
Okay.
And that's, you know, they know that the date's gonna be there, so
And it's been resolved. They are gonna have seats, not
that's
benches.
not resolved yet.
Oh, it isn't?
Well, it's resolved by our area. We will have
They
seats.
seem to understand that, and I will tell you later.
We'll have to have a county commission section.
I'll tell you that, we'll talk about that.
Okay.
We can't put that on TV.
Yeah, but we look forward to that being part of the solution.
It's moving forward, and it's going in the right direction, and they know that they have to meet that February date, and they will have to put, you know, whatever they have to do to make it, so. Yeah.
The one thing of note that I heard on the news, Preston County, County Commission, voted not to support our resolution, about the increase in the power rates. And evidently the, commission president there, Jennings, related that, don't quote me on this, but, related that, there wasn't evidence or proof that this raise was because of the purchase of the Harrison power plant.
I got different, I saw Vicky Cole down there, I got a different view, maybe the.
It was just on Channel 12 News.
The two of them, I was told that they were submitting a letter. I don't know if we asked them to sign our exact letter. I was told that they were submitting the letter that opposed the increase. Did we ask them to sign our letter?
No,
I thought we asked them to support the resolution.
Yeah, but
Support
they
the
supported the resolution,
Concept,
but they
yeah.
wrote their own letter.
Oh, I got the message that they weren't supporting our resolution.
I don't know, I'm just.
Because
I guess
of,
I'll have to call up and find out.
there wasn't proof or evidence that the raise was linked to the purchase of.
Well, whether it was or wasn't, the point being that the substantial increase in, 25 and 30% increase, for the lights on, I mean, it's something that needs to be addressed and looked
Well,
at.
Vicky was at the session and they did it last week.
Mhm.
Wasn't it last week?
No, they held it off last week.
It was.
They
this
waited
week.
for yeah.
Well, anyway, she was, okay, well, I'll have to look at, my impression was that they were opposing the rate increase. I don't know anything about the rest of that.
All I know is what I saw on TV, the news.
Alan Staggers is scheduled for the work session next week to come in and clarify some of the issues that were discussed when you
Yeah.
talked about it earlier.
But it doesn't really, as Tom said, it doesn't really matter how they move the numbers. I mean, that's what's so ironic about this whole thing. Harrison County's purchase of that plant in Harrison County was not an arm's length transaction. That plant was owned by a subsidiary of the company. I mean, they're all in bed together. So for our forum, they can show us a set of books. I'm not saying they're doing this, so don't say that I'm accusing. I'm just saying the problem with not having an arm's length transaction, I can have this set of books for the county commissions and the cities, and I have this set of books for my stockholders and showing what a great job I did and how I made big money off of selling that Harrison. And they never jive or never meet. Now, I'm not accusing them of that. I'm saying that's the problem when you don't have a true arm's length transaction. So, the ultimate question is, how can you justify a 15 to 20% increase, depending on your category of usage, in this economic time? You can't. I do not believe that they can justify it, and all the trees that they possibly can think of. I mean, I think I'm going to go in the tree cutting business for the power company. They're going to give me all 15% of that increase. I mean, because you're talking about millions and millions of dollars that the citizens of Monongalia County and West Virginia are going to have to pay. So that's the issue. I hope we don't get bogged down in distorting the issue into, oh, I looked at this set of books and, oh no, I'm showing you this set of books.
I agree with you. Bottom line of the issue is the exorbitant increase.
Right.
For whatever reason, it doesn't make any difference.
Right.
Is that you start telling governments you're going to pay 27% more in your power bills, then what you're saying you're going to dictate to a lot of governments, you're going to have to increase your taxes.
You have to increase your taxes, number one, or number two, a whole lot of services for a lot of people are going to be cut.
There's only two ways you can do it.
Cut. Right. And that's the first ones you have to cut. You have to cut the outside agencies. You got to quit providing them support.
And I think what the public needs to understand is indirectly, it's not public officials determining the cost of your government. It's a power company determining the cost of your government. Well, I mean, they're the ones that's raising the rates. They're the ones that's going to tell you you're going to pay 27% more for your street lights and your power bills. So, I mean, if we had to vote on it, I can guarantee you there wouldn't be a vote here to raise power bills 27%.
Did they ever fix
And
those lights?
Westover wouldn't vote for it either, I don't think. No.
Did they ever fix those lights that we've been working for months on going up to the
Yeah.
Coliseum? We've been asking. That still hasn't been done, but they're going to get a 27% increase.
They're trying to save some electric.
Yeah. Do you really?
Whether they work or not, they.
Oh, really?
There ought to be a way, they ought to talk to a tree expert, when they cut these branches, keep them from growing out again. I
When
mean, this is
Mr. Stagg,
This
yes.
is pretty good for the tree cutters. I
Could you
mean,
ask
it's
Mr.
repetitive
Staggers when he
business.
comes back in that we've asked for 7 months of why the lights aren't working on the 4-lane going up? And I'd like him to have some answers on that too. And especially if we're paying for it. I didn't realize we're also still paying for it. That's 6-7 months.
Well, you know,
Okay,
that
just see
sort
if
of
you
go-
can
that
find out
sort of
why.
goes to the kind of things that we would have to give up. I mean, constitutionally, we are required to fund all the constitutional officers.
Right.
Giving funds to different organizations or making sure lights on the boulevards or all that, that's just extra.
Okay, we're late again we're early and late. I guess that's better than being late all the time, or early all the time. Thank you.
See you later. Jim.
Public hearing for application to close and vacate unused parts or portions of streets or roads, Doris Road, Suzanne Road, Michelle Way, Joyce Row, and Clyde May Lane within Haymaker Village.
She's getting money and got it.
We don't have a staff report, do we? None of the planning commission was involved in this,
No.
looking at this.
No.
So what we're gonna have first is, Mr. Angotti represents the applicant. Mr. Angotti, you represent the applicant.
No.
I do not.
Mr.
Oh, you do not?
Mr. Schuman
Mr.
represents.
Is he-
Schuman represents
is
the
he
I'm
here?
just here to watch. Yes, he's coming right. I think he's in the restroom. Excuse me.
Okay.
Hey, why don't we call it for us, brother? I did, sorry, Jim.
This is being continued
still-
tonight, 6:15.
Yeah, I'm still trying to figure out exactly where this is located. I don't
Oh,
know why
it's
I'm-
behind like the Dairy
Behind
Mart.
the Dairy Mart on Dorsey Avenue.
Yeah.
When you pull in the Dairy Mart parking lot, there's a street that goes up over the hill, that's Teresa Drive. It goes
Right.
down into South Park. To
Okay.
the right of that, if you're coming from
It's like
Dorsey,
woods. Yeah.
there's 2 rows of houses, and then there's the woods that eventually gets into the cemetery.
You're Mr. Schuman? Mr. Schuman, you have a seat.
Where's Dorsey
You'd like?
Avenue? In relationship to that map.
We'll call upon you first to present your petition and all evidence supporting your request.
I'm here on behalf of Al Bink, which owns approximately 40 acres. It straddles the city-county line. I heard you all talking right up, kind of behind the Dairy Mart.
Yeah.
Up there. Back in the 60s, Al laid out a development plan for part of the property. Some of the lots were sold, some of the lots weren't sold. So what you now have is a series of paper streets that were never built, never opened, that run through a lot of these paper lots that were never sold. And they're going to try to go back in and redevelop the property, do a new development. So we've got an application in front of the county to vacate and all these paper streets that were never opened inside the county. We're going to do a tandem application to the city. We've already met with the city engineer and city attorney and the city planner to close the paper streets that are on the city side of the property. All the streets that we've asked that be closed and vacated have never been physically opened. We are the property owner on both sides of those streets. And so this won't affect anybody's access, won't affect anybody's utility access or their use or enjoyment of the lots. It's just about that simple.
Okay. Is there anyone present that is in support of the request that would like to speak? Okay. I'd like to call on anyone now who are opposed to the request as presented. Okay. We've had a presentation. We have no opposition to that presentation. I open the floor for the pleasure of this commission.
Well, we're reconvening back at 6:15.
Yes.
Yeah. basically, I can tell you, I lived on Sherman Avenue for years, and I would run that whole area. So I know exactly the area, and he is, you said it correctly, it's just another area that's never been opened, it's just been sitting there.
Listen,
And
Fields?
yeah, and
Used
if
to
we
be
can
part
put
of
it
a
back on the
farm out
tax, if we can put it back on the tax, market and, put development, I think it's a great idea.
The way I'm reading this map, what you're asking us to annul are these outside the corporation limit.
There are, I've got a color-coded one that I've actually filed.
Why don't you bring it up here and show it to me, because I always
Yeah.
like to know exactly what I'm looking at. Let's show it to all of us here. These are the ones outside.
Outside.
Right.
And these now, none of these now exist.
The roads,
Right.
only on paper.
That's what I mean.
Yes.
They don't exist on the ground.
No,
Okay.
only on paper.
How about, and if you look at this one,
So let me go
how
back.
about these inside the city, any portion of these?
They exist to, Doris would exist to right there.
The first lot?
And
okay.
we were working on the plats yesterday, and I've met with Steve and Terry and Chris at the city. We're going to actually annul Doris inside the city from
That
point.
portion. Mhm.
Suzanne, which is right there, exists only at that intersection, so we're going to annul that part of it inside the city.
How about Rosemary Drive?
Actually, there are lots that come down and access right there. This part of Rosemary Drive's never actually been opened. When it was developed, it was brought down
Okay.
instead of brought up.
So that's what I wanted to clarify. Now, when we complete the order, the city won't be annulling any part of Rosemary,
No,
and
because,
we're just going to annul it to this point.
yes,
We need to make sure that's in the order.
it is.
Okay.
It's all based upon this map.
Okay. All right. Good. That. So you probably got or I probably got out of order here. Basically, the green is what you're seeking the county to annul.
Exactly.
Okay. So Charlotte Place will still be there.
It will be.
And does it go all the way to this point?
It comes out to this point, although the road's pretty bad condition, because there is and it's not on this original development map from the 60s, there is a lot that sits right here that has some satellite dishes on it.
Oh.
It was an old
Right.
teleprompter
Up at the top.
site,
Yeah.
and hopefully things fall in the right line. We'll be back to vacate that at another day.
Yeah. Okay.
But that road's a pretty bad condition as it is. But that's what Charlotte Place serves the purpose of getting to at present.
Okay. And the one other question I want to get on the record, even though it's in your filing, the property owners on each side of these marked areas for the county to nullify.
And it is in every instance Alpic.
Yeah.
There is no road that we have asked to be closed that Alp is not the property owner on both sides of
Both sides of the road.
the entirety of the road.
Okay. Final question. At the end of these roads, is there any basis, and the only one I could really see that would apply would be Charlotte Place, any basis by which the people that live on this road proper would need access?
There are actually no lots that have been sold.
It's just dead ends, basically.
Yeah.
It's not even a dead end, it stops.
It stops.
Literally.
The pavement just stops.
Stops.
Right.
Because there are no lots for people that live down in
Right.
these areas. It ends up in here,
Mhm.
it ends up in here.
It's not even uniform.
This was all developed, and nothing pretty much from this intersection down was ever developed or sold.
Okay.
The utilities aren't even there.
Right.
Right. Okay, those were the issues I needed to ask to get on the record. You contained it in your writings, but I like to get it orally too. Thank you.
And I have a proposed order that's been prepared by Mr. Shum for consideration application out for the hearing tonight or next week.
Oh, so you've got the order already written?
Okay.
Okay.
Okay,
Have
so,
my stuff.
being no further comments, we'll adjourn till to this evening at 6:15 in this room, for our evening
Are we
session.
meeting here or down
Yeah,
there?
6:15
We're
here and
meeting
then
here.
6:30 down there.
And hopefully it'll be very
Yeah,
short
It's a
and
different
brief.
meeting.
Okay.
Uh,
6:15.
Here,
6:15
here, yeah.
in this room.
And then we scheduled the zoning and.
Okay.
Yeah.
We're gonna have pizza then?
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, moving right along, we got 3 minutes till 11 o'clock.
I can give you a little information.
Oh, okay, go ahead.
Heads up on us?
I've gone through the authorities, boards, and commission appointments and updated our website. These are the positions that are now open. I sent a
Did,
memorandum to people.
Shirley,
who are currently-
Martin?
Yes, she did. I sent her an application. They- there's- oh. So this is the actual post on the website. And I've sent a memorandum, an application out to those whose terms are expiring for them to complete and return if they're interested, and let me know if they're not interested.
Okay. Can we give a copy of this to Ben, maybe consider it? Oh, you can? Thank you. Okay, very good.
Okay.
2 more.
So anyone that's interested in appointment to a board needs to contact Diane and fill out the proper application. And then at that time, we'll review the applications.
Since we still have 2 minutes.
2 minutes, yeah. you
I don't
got-
know if you watched, but if you turn on the channel 3, we don't have the local program. You know, I know it had
Yeah,
changed,
yeah.
but they had music on it before, but now they have something else which I can't figure it out what it is. I mean, it's from some other state or from some other area that it's a fundraising, like a religious. I can't figure it out. I mean,
Well, it probably is an easy solution, is that they're probably paying for that TV time. Yeah.
I mean, I can't figure it. I mean, he just sits there and they show numbers, and I mean, I don't even know what
If
even
it's a
number you call in.
fundraiser, that's even more.
Yeah, I can't
support.
even figure it
They don't
out.
advertise things that's going on anymore?
No,
Yeah.
and it's and
Talk show's not on there anymore.
again,
But what-
it's really
what about the
disappointing.
rotation of
Yeah.
events?
See, and I really think that was an important.
That was quite a public service.
Yeah.
Whenever I'd hear about something, I'd put it on my calendar, but I wouldn't write all the details because I could always go to the TV, click it on, and the details would pop up.
I guess they're saying
I
that
used to
because
use
we
that
had
all
that
time.
other station, the public access station, we could use that one. But I
But
just
thought
felt that it was
I
nice.
thought that was the city's.
No, Channel 3 was,
No, I thought that was.
I think the city does pay for that other channel,
Right.
15 or whatever it is.
oh.
I don't wanna speak for West Virginia Radio, but I think they were in negotiations about maybe getting that back at some point.
Oh, were they?
I don't know, Tim, do you know?
Okay.
Uh,
Well, and I just verbally would like to see that happen again because I think it was a great public service, as you said, a lot of times. You just turn it on and, and it would just really helped out. Okay. Killed the 2
Okay,
minutes.
11 o'clock, public meeting. Again, I emphasize public meeting to discuss draft Monongalia County subdivision land development ordinance. We'll try to follow a similar procedure and call upon staff report on the subdivision and land development ordinance.
Okay. The first thing you need to understand is that although it's referred to as subdivision regulations, there's often some confusion about that. The official title is Monongalia County Subdivision and Land Development Ordinance. A lot of people, when they hear the term subdivision, they think in terms of their residential subdivision, and that's what it addresses. And it does do that, but here's the definition of subdivision out of 8A, the planning code for West Virginia. subdivision or parcel means the division of a lot, tract, or parcel of land into two or more lots, tracts, or parcels of land, or recombination of existing lots, tracts, or parcels. So anytime you divide any property or recombine any property, that is classified as a subdivision. Now, what you think of in terms of what's the design requirements for roads and developing a residential subdivision, that's all contained essentially in the land development regulations. Both are aspects of this ordinance. Now, Article 2 of the ordinance outlines the authority and purpose, and there's several different policies and purposes outlined in the ordinance. But basically, it's to protect the health, safety, and welfare of the public and to establish reasonable standards, and again, reasonable standards of design and procedures for subdivisions. So you have that aspect in the ordinance. Now, it's also important to realize that you have different types of subdivisions. The principal one being minor subdivisions, which at this point we've established as 5 parcels or less, and major subdivisions. Now, a minor subdivision you can go forward and process relatively quickly, relatively easy. A minor subdivision, for example, might be the that would all be a minor subdivision, and that can be done quickly, relatively easy. To do even if there wasn't an ordinance. Now, major subdivisions, of course, involve parcels that are greater, or divisions that are more than 5, and you have more extensive procedures for platting those. And there's several kinds of major subdivisions depending on what you're planning on doing. You have different residential densities, so you have a category for high-density residential, medium residential, more single-family estate areas, agriculture areas. You also have densities for, or categories for mobile homes, for recreation parks, and for commercial industrial subdivisions. Because the same requirements that you would have, say, for a single-family residential area are not going to be applicable if you're putting in an industrial park. You also have specific sections dedicated to flood hazard areas and hillside development. So, you know, you basically have to comply under our ordinance with the Monongalia County floodplain ordinance, and you can't develop in the floodplain just as prohibited under the floodplain ordinance. And you also have requirements if you're working on steep slopes, because that's an altogether different environment to try and build a subdivision on than if you're simply doing it on relatively flat ground. You also have design standards in the ordinance for streets, roads, sewer and water, drainage, stormwater management, utilities, all of those sort of things. And those are all outlined in different articles in the ordinance. Now, what we attempted to do here was sort of find a middle ground. If you look at similar ordinances, both in the county, the model ordinances provided by APA, American Planning Association, they range from ones maybe half this size to over 200 pages, and can get into much more detail, much more restrictions than what we've had here. So we've tried to have one that is essentially workable, reasonable, but yet still effective in promoting regulations that protect the health, safety, and welfare of the public. Now, this is a draft, so it's still up for comments and recommendations and can be changed. And your input is welcome because, for example, several sections are very engineer related. And, you know, Patty and I are planners, we're not engineers. So we'd like to get input from engineers that what we think is acceptable and consistent is consistent from somebody who's doing it from the engineer's side, who's planted property, who's done subdivisions before. And we want to work with the development committee. Would like your suggestions and comments. Now, the ordinance is available on our website. That's www.moncpc.org. And if you want an email copy, I can email copies to anybody. If you just give Patty your email address, we'll get that to you. And with that, I'm basically done with my comment.
Okay, anyone else want to speak in favor or support of the subdivision? Anyone opposed to the subdivision ordinance? Okay, being Joe?
Couple of things, when you guys are going into another meeting this evening about
Yes,
this,
we'll-
that you'll probably see more public too, and I think one of the things that the planning commission wanted to make sure that you gentlemen knew is that it's 90% of the public is not gonna be impacted, it's one more step, which means they basically have to go to the planning commission and say, this is what, the other 3 steps that exist already exists. So it's not gonna change the lives of most people. And we're not trying to keep Uncle Sal from dividing his farm out and giving it to his, that's not the point is to protect people that are buying land in a subdivision that's about to develop. The developer says, yeah, we're gonna have a park over there and a park over there, and then suddenly 40 lots later, the parks are gone and they have no protection. That's what the planning commission wants to make sure that the public knows, is it's not to tell them what they can't do. It's to say, what we're not gonna allow. The huge developers, the bigger developers are the ones that this is gonna put the most regulation on, and that's the safeguards for the general public.
We also discussed, and I haven't looked this one over yet, Rich, but the possibility of including in this impact fees.
Well, yes, first off, for the record, that's Joe Kaler, and he's a member of the planning commission. And I should have mentioned him when I first started, sorry about that. Yes, and I sent Diane the section on impact fees, and should get to you through Diane, but I know we have that. The impact fees, as it stands right now, we do not qualify. Okay. However, the only thing in the enabling legislation that we have no control over in terms of qualifying is population growth. And the population growth aspect of it, we do meet. So all the other requirements, it's at least conceivable that we could meet those requirements. But if you look over the list of everything that has to be implemented before you can go ahead and do impact fees, we'd have an awful lot of work to do.
Okay. Well, that could always be introduced later, couldn't it, as an addendum or a revision?
It's definitely a living, breathing document.
Yeah.
Can I ask a question? I have one question, and I think this may be probably the biggest question that's been brought, and I know Eldon keeps bringing it up, so I looked at what we had originally that you were given to us, and again, and you know exactly what I'm going to say, it's under Article 2, the actual under number 47 and number 50, major subdivision, minor subdivision. At one time, you said not limited to subdivisions of 4 or more lots, and this one it's 6 or more lots. And then in minor subdivision, you had not more than 3 lots fronting and 5 lots fronting. Does that help, Eldon? I know that was the area you were worried about.
Yeah.
I mean, and that's what I'm throwing in. I appreciate that, but I wanted everyone to know that it was looked at.
It's not an arbitrary number by any means, but there's no set number by code.
Right.
Many of the comparable ordinances that we looked at will set it at less than 5. Mm-hmm. Originally, the ordinance, I think, had 9. which to me, if you're dividing 9, you're really doing a small subdivision. It's
Right,
not
exactly.
a minor subdivision. And Alvin had suggested the number 5, and that seems reasonable, and that is not inconsistent by any means with some of the other ordinances. It's a little on the high side, but not out of bounds. But you know, that's why it's a draft. If we decided that we were going to say 3 or we were going to say 6, we can do that at this point. But based on our conversation, we kind of came up with 5.
Right. I haven't read it completely, but what I just read a little bit about that, my understanding is it's 5 without any effects on the infrastructure, roads.
Right. That's correct.
But if you're just putting in 3 and you're putting in new roads and new stuff, would it qualify or not?
No, it would still be a minor subdivision. The requirements that you have is that you have to have your access permit, which basically, if you were doing this without the ordinance, you have to go to the highway department to get your access.
They just don't do it.
But
Well, that's the other thing.
but it does require that there actually has to be an easement. If, for example, they're giving off a chunk of land and say, well, it's for Sally, Sally can use my driveway and drive back there. Well, what happens when Sally sells it, or when you die? It's landlocked effectively without an easement. So it does require that there has to be an actual deeded easement that's recorded as part of the plat, which you might not have right now. But basically, it's very similar to what you'd have to do now. But no, you don't trigger all of the other requirements for a major subdivision, even if you want to, for your 3-parcel subdivision, put that stuff in. And you certainly could use the guidelines established in those sections of the ordinance to use in coming up with what you want to put in there.
Well, what I like, just heard from you, liked a whole lot was, you know, I've been really concerned about slide prone areas because we've got so many of them. And even though there is we got a report from Phil Medgrow, our prosecuting attorney, looked into it for it. Even though there is some public service information on it, we have no abilities with it, and without this regulation, we have zero ability to control slide prone areas.
Yeah. Well, the original draft we had did not address hilltop development, but it's allowed under the enabling legislation, and so I included that in there.
Well, I'm glad you did, because that's one thing I wanted to see. That was one of my concerns. Let me ask you another question. When you again, I haven't read this, and I read this, but I think this is good public information. So, let's say what just happened here with Mr. Schumann and that plan. He's got all these, he obviously had a subdivision, the gentleman had a subdivision, he had divided it all off. And the question I'm gonna ask him tonight is, he's doing away with these roads. Now, a little known statute allows a property owner to dissolve a subdivision. There was one out in Blacksville, where back in the 1960s, someone plotted out a subdivision. Nothing was ever done, other than it was filed. Well, in our maps and everything, it shows that as subdivision, and it didn't really bother the person until the property reappraisals came through. And when the property reappraisals come through, every one of those, instead of 50 acres of undeveloped land, which is what it was, actually, he was paying for 50 one-acre lots. You know, and before the property reappraisals, and you got everything in order and proper, the assessor's office was counting that as virtually the same as undeveloped land. Now, there's a statute, and I remember Commissioner Kennedy argued, and I had to come and show it to him. He argued it didn't exist. there's a statute that allows a property owner to come in and petition the county commission to merge parcels. And the commission has to issue an order, and the assessor gets to respond whether they want to or not. But the commission has the authority to issue an order to merge parcels back together, which is something I want to ask Mr. Schuman whether he's going to need to do that, since they're going to relay that. Because somehow he's going to have to change those lots around, if you've seen that. This gets to my question for you. Once we adopt this, and we got that statute, and someone makes a plan for a subdivision, will they have to come back to you as well as to the county commission to get approval to do away with that,
Yeah.
subdivision?
I need that statute, so when you get a chance, send that to me.
Okay,
So that we're sympathetic
you can put it in, so you can put it in here?
with this ordinance. There are a couple of things. Number one, the developer's vested right when they plat a subdivision is for 5 years. If they don't do anything in 5 years, then they've lost that right. So they'd have to come back to the planning commission and go through the process before. Secondly, if they want to recombine, that falls under the ordinance for subdivisions, and they have to go through the process and do that. Now, they can do that, but it still has to be approved by the planning commission, just like any other subdivision requirement. Now, obviously, if they're going from what they intended to be a major subdivision back to, say, a 40-acre field, they don't have to do all the plats for a major subdivision, but they do have to have the approval of this body. And where you have some guarantee, if you will, is not so much a scenario like what you're saying, but where they say, oh, we got, Happy Acres subdivision, we're gonna have 50 lots here. They sell 5 of them, and then they decide, we ain't selling anymore. Well, the people who bought those original lots, figuring they were gonna be part of a 50-acre subdivision, get left high and dry. That's not the case now. There has to be a bond placed, and if the developer doesn't finish off that subdivision, you use the money for the bond to finish off that subdivision. So you guarantee. But that's a scenario where you have maybe a partially developed subdivision, as opposed to where they plotted it out and never developed it.
Right.
But yes, recombination falls under the ordinance, and it's allowed, you can do that, but it does have to go before the planning commission to be approved.
I'll pull that statute out and give it to you.
Eldon, in direct answer to your question, because we are a recommending board, not a regulatory board, it would come to you anyway. Our recommendation is for you to accept this, our recommendation is for you to decline.
Oh, yeah,
So it would
okay.
come to you anyway. There wouldn't be an
but
extra
they-
step for the landowner, correct?
It would be an extra step, because they'd have to come to you to
Right,
recombine,
right.
as
And-
well
and
as
from
file
the-
with us, but,
Okay.
but I guess what it would do is give them a definite body that they can submit something to, and then it would come to us.
Right.
From you all.
And Joe's correct in most circumstances that the planning commission is an advisory body, but under subdivision regulations, they are the deciding body. Anything that the planning commission approves relative to subdivisions, that's it. Now, the appeal process is to go to circuit court, but the actions for all of these subdivisions, platting and all of that does not come for
So
approval.
it's not a final approval in the commission, it's.
No, and that's why I say I need that because if I say, the planning commission says, yes, you can recombine this and go ahead and recombine it and plant your thing, and we put the seal on it, and there's some other requirement that we don't know about, that it has to have your approval as well, we're in
Yeah,
be
because,
trouble.
see, right, because that statute, well, it has to have our approval because the assessor has a right to speak, because the assessor is the mapping organization for the county. The assessor has the right to oppose that or to support that. The assessor on his own can do this and seek it the other way around, which I've encouraged. I haven't had, I know Mark's been busy on so many other things. I encouraged the prior assessor to look at, but I'm also going to encourage Mark to look at when things get settled down in his office a little bit, because we spend thousands and thousands of dollars every year sending out first, second, third, fourth, fifth notices on little slivers of property that, you know, you gotta send one for this lot, because you send it for every little piece.
Yeah.
And a lot of times, if you, the way it's written, if you do a boundary adjustment, if you find that, oh, the boundary that I actually purchased was by that 1 foot off the oak tree, but when they mapped it 1 foot on the other side of the oak tree. Both property owners agree what it's supposed to be, but they want to get it fixed so their kids and their grandkids don't fight over it. The way it is now, they have to go through this full application process, file that, the deeds, you gotta do trade deeds, and now, when it gets to the mapping room, they assign map 19.60. Now you got 60 sub of the original parcel for a little sliver. And we spend thousands and thousands, tens of thousands of taxpayer dollars every year on what I consider waste, that the assessor needs to merge these silly adjustments. And I want to make this point too, and I'll make this point again tonight. And this is really for Ben's benefit and other media. The other media's left. They give up on us. Ben, you're the stalwart. Here's another one here. Anyway, Ben, with subdivision regulations, what is probably what I know I and Bill been pushing since way back Peach Street. They kept coming in, and those people out there, that subdivision, because of a road that was never completed, lands, they spent over $10,000 on attorney's fees to straighten that mess up. Since that time, that was 2 years ago, that was in my first year, I've been preaching subdivision regulations ever since, because as you said, who it protects is the citizens. That's who it protects from the fly-by-nights. The responsible developers won't be bothered by this at all. It's the fly-by-nighters that will be upset. What happened at Forest Drive and that whole flooding process.
Right.
None of that would have happened in the years of problems and flooding and all the problems that everyone's well aware of, thanks to the Dominion Post writing a detailed story about the situation, would have been avoided if we had these proper regulations. So I appreciate we're moving on it.
Okay. Any other comments?
I have one question. Tonight, no one appeared today. You're scheduled to be down there tonight. Do you want us to post notices on the doors down there that it's going to be here, and then you can just stay here at 6:15?
Well, tonight might be a different story.
Okay.
Have you been getting phone calls?
I've gotten a couple of them. Some people were kind of confused. Patricia Dietrich, just so she knows. I've gotten a couple of phone calls. Most people are confused because it starts at 11, and they're thinking that it goes from 11 until 6:30. And I've tried to explain to the people, no, they're having one meeting at 11, and then they're resuming the meeting at 6:30, so that if you work during the day, you have the chance to come. I have received quite a few that were positive, quite a few that were negative. comments, and quite a few of them said that they should be showing up tonight, so.
I think the grapevine with the developers, we'll have several developers tonight, I think. I would be surprised. I'd be surprised if we didn't. Any other comments? We'll close this public meeting until 6:30 this evening.
And we're on for over there.
Yes, we're on at the Sheriff's
Yeah.
Department.
Don't have to ask you a question.
Oh, you still haven't?
No, after.
Oh, okay. So this is closed, and we're gonna move on with our agenda. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks, Rich.
Thanks, Rich. That's it.
I'll eat you outside. I have one quick.
We're
Yeah.
we have here executive session.
Yes. Bobby requested that.
Oh, he did?
Okay.
Okay. So this public portion of the meeting is over. I need a motion to go into executive session.
I move that we go into executive session to discuss a personnel issue.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to go into executive session. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. So we'll have a 2-minute recess, and then we'll go into executive session.
It's real simple.